The Jewish Channel's Week in Review. Why everyone in Israel is talking about this 7-year-old girl, a famous rabbi gets the musical theater treatment, Isaac Bashevis Singer's work is back on stage, and more of the Jewish news that's changing your world right now in this episode of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. A 7-year-old girl is now the main topic of conversation around Israel, as the issue of ultra-Orthodox gender segregation continues to lead public debate there. The young girl, Naama Margulies, was profiled in this story for Israel's Channel 2 newscast on Friday. The footage showed her mother trying to take her to school in the city of Beit Shemesh, where ultra-Orthodox men have been intimidating local parents and students on their way into school. You might remember this school from our news reports in September, when the school's opening for the new academic year was delayed by ultra-Orthodox protesters blocking the school's entrance for days. Now, the girls do have public access to the school, but they are routinely pelted with rotten eggs and vegetables, spat upon, and screamed at by ultra-Orthodox men on their way to school. In the Channel 2 story, a crying Naama is slowly led to school by her mother. Naama tells Channel 2 reporter Shai Gal that she would never make the walk on her own, and here her mother only gets her to cross the street over her literal crying in protest. One of the story's most dramatic moments comes in the middle of an interview with an ultra-Orthodox man when a woman in the background is spat upon by other ultra-Orthodox men. Exclusion of women from the public sphere is revealed in the story to be a growing trend in Beit Shemesh. At one point, the reporter is shown the official brochure of the city and finds that throughout its many pages, not one image of a woman is present, not even in a picture of the city council, which actually has 3 women as members. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued multiple public responses to the story, making this several weeks in a row that the Prime Minister has been motivated to speak out against gender segregation in response to continuing developments. The day after the story aired on Channel 2, Netanyahu instructed his public security minister to take action against exclusion of women from the public sphere in Israel. Netanyahu also spoke with his attorney general that day, asking him to ensure that laws against women's exclusion are being properly enforced. Now, Orthodox attitudes regarding women have also been affecting the Israeli army. The Israel Defense Forces has become split over requests by ultra-Orthodox soldiers to keep female soldiers from singing at public events. This has led to much back and forth in recent months, and now the head of Israel's military has spoken out. IDF Chief Benny Gantz issued orders requiring all soldiers to attend formal military gatherings at which women sing, though he said that they can be excused from informal social gatherings for religious reasons. Moving on to someone who never had a problem including women in his life, Nobel Prize-winning author Isaac Bashevis Singer. One of his plays is getting a revival after 20 years and is playing to sold-out audiences, as Christian Needham reports.
A schlemiel is finally getting his day in the sun. On stage, that is. That's because New York City theater audiences have been getting reacquainted with the citizens of Helm, the legendary city of fools, thanks to a revival of Schlemiel I, based on the folktales of Isaac Bashevis Singer. And while this musical, staged by the National Yiddish Theater Folkspiele, boasts an ensemble cast, the focus of the story is schlemiel, which means fool in Yiddish.
A wonderful character that's a beadle, a shamus, and he goes out into the world to spread the word of Chelem. What happens is he gets turned around, and in the process of getting turned around, Schlemiel comes back to his own town, to his own roots, but this time he sees everything in a positive light. And certainly we get that wonderful message that the same place, same characters, same family, but having a more optimistic view of life.
To see more from Schlemiel I, now playing at Manhattan's Skirball Center, please tune in to the full broadcast edition of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Christian. Another stage tribute is a musical that shares the compositions of one of the most famous singer-songwriters in the Jewish world, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, as Meredith Gansman found out.
If you thought Fiddler on the Roof was the only Jewish musical to play the Great White Way, well, there's a new Broadway-bound musical hitting the block. Soul Doctor tells the story of Shlomo Carlebach, and I've got your first look. Inside the West Side Jewish Cultural Center at an exclusive rehearsal for Soul Doctor, I spoke to the cast and creative team of the musical, which is now on tour in Miami Beach, Florida. The late Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, known by his followers as Reb Shlomo and even as the singing rabbi, was a religious teacher, composer, and singer. And although Carlebach was a musical character, soul doctor, playwright, and producer Danny Wise wasn't always confident his story would sing in the theater.
I wasn't sure whether it was a jukebox musical, like a musical review, where you take his music, which is very moving and enlivening and entertaining, but I wasn't sure whether his life story was a theatrical arc, was a theatrical circumstance.
But Wise found his story arc in what he saw as the conflict between Carlebach's strict Orthodox Jewish upbringing and his passion to share his music with the wider world.
He was a world-class Talmudic prodigy, and then he was the first emissary of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And then he really went out into the world and discovered his own journey, really. Influenced very much by Nina Simone initially and the whole black gospel and spiritual experience.
For more on Shlomo Carlebach and Soul Doctor, tune in to the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Meredith. Finally, in our continuing coverage of the 2012 elections, I recently sat down with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida. She is chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee and working on achieving victory for Democrats in 2012. She's also Jewish, and she and I spoke about the Jewish vote in 2012 and how Israel has become a factor. Here's that interview. Debbie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So what is the Democratic case for Jews to vote Democratic in 2012?
Well, it's a very simple case. When it comes to the issues that matter to Jewish voters in America, whether it's making sure that we have the highest quality public education system and can outcompete and out-innovate the rest of the world, when it comes to standing up for people who have no voice, when it comes to fighting to make sure that the poor have assistance, or making sure that there's quality health care, or taking care of children domestically, the natural home for Jewish voters is the Democratic Party. And then you add our support for Israel. President Obama's strong support for Israel, the most security assistance ever proposed and pushed through under his administration, a rock-solid record in support of standing by Israel as a Jewish and democratic state.
President Barack Obama received 78% of the Jewish vote in 2008, received massive approval upon entering office, 79%. But as Charles Blow pointed out in the New York Times, he's seen his approval rating drop more for Jews than other ethnicities as they voted for President Obama in 2008.
No, I don't believe that's accurate. There has been about a proportionate drop in the president's approval rating in the Jewish community, essentially proportionate to his dip in the approval rating in the rest of the country, in the general population. But, you know, President Obama inherited the most set of problems of any president since FDR or maybe Abraham Lincoln. So, you know, he inherited a difficult economy. The economy was bleeding 750,000 jobs a month, and now fast forward 3 years later, and we've had 22 straight months of private sector job growth, 3 million jobs and counting created, starting to turn things around. But people, you know, have been frustrated, as has President Obama, and so it's natural that approval rating would be impacted.
You can see the full interview with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the full broadcast version of the Week in Review on TJC. That's all for this week. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable. Time Warner Cable Channel 528, IO Optimum Channel 291, RCN Channel 268, Bright House Channel 330, Verizon Fios Channel 900, Cox Channel 1, Frontier Communications, and now on Comcast Cable in the on-demand menu under Premium Channels. For more information, visit tjctv.com.